Israel troops withdraw from corridor that split Gaza in two. Israeli troops have withdrawn from the 𝙉𝙬𝙬𝙬 corridor, a military zone cutting off the north of the Gaza Strip from the south. Hundreds of Palestinians in cars and on carts laden with mattresses and other goods began returning to northern Gaza following the pullout, often to scenes of utter destruction. The Israeli withdrawal is in line with the Israel-Hamas ceasefire agreement of 19 January, under which 16 Israeli hostages and 566 Palestinian prisoners have so far been freed. By the end of the first stage of the ceasefire in 3 weeks' time, 33 hostages and 1,900 prisoners are expected to have been freed. Israel says 8 of the 33 are dead. Hamas seized 251 hostages and killed about 200 people when it attacked Israel on 7 October 2023, triggering the Gaza war. At least 48,089 Palestinians have been killed in Israel's offensive, according to Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry. About 2/3 of Gaza's buildings have been damaged or destroyed by Israel's attacks, the UN says. On Sunday, crowds of Palestinians were seen traversing the 𝙉𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬 corridor, mostly moving north to see what had happened to their abandoned homes. What we saw was a catastrophe, horrific destruction. The Israeli occupation destroyed all the homes, shops, farms, mosques, universities, and the courthouse, Osama Abu Kamil, a resident of Al-Magraka just north of 𝙉𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬, told the AFP news agency. The 57-year-old, who had been forced to live for more than a year in the southern Gazan city of Khan Yunis, said he now planned to set up a tent for me and my family next to the rubble of our house. We have no choice, he added. Mahmoud al-Sarhi, another displaced Palestinian, told AFP that for him, arriving at the 𝙉𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬 corridor meant death until this morning. He said this was the first time I saw our destroyed house, referring to his home in the nearby Zaytun area. The entire area is in ruins. I cannot live here, he added. About 700,000 residents of northern Gaza fled to southern areas at the start of the war, when the Israeli military issued mass evacuation orders before launching a ground invasion of the Palestinian territory. Many of those displaced were subsequently forced to move multiple times after. Israeli forces pushed into southern Gaza too. They were also prevented from returning to their homes through the 𝙉𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬, stretching from the Gaza-Israel border to the Mediterranean Sea. Israeli forces partially withdrew from the west of the corridor last month, and the first pedestrians, were allowed to walk along the coastal Rashid Street as they crossed into northern Gaza. Those on vehicles have to use Salah al-Din Street and undergo screening for weapons by U.S. and Egyptian security contractors. The Israel Defense Forces have not officially commented on Sunday's withdrawal from the eastern part of the corridor, which will leave it in control of Gaza's borders, but not the road that had cut it in half. The Haaretz newspaper says the Hamas-run Gaza Interior ministry has been urging people to exercise caution and adhere to the existing movement guidelines for their safety. The troop withdrawal comes as an Israeli delegation is expected to fly to Qatar, which has been moderating talks between the two sides in the Gaza war. The Israeli government has previously said the delegation will initially discuss technical matters regarding the first phase of the ceasefire deal, rather than the more challenging second phase, which is meant to lead to a permanent ceasefire, the exchange of all remaining living hostages in Gaza for more Palestinian prisoners, and a complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. That will require further direction from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who recently became the first foreign leader to meet U.S. President Donald Trump since his return to the White House. During the trip, in the most dramatic shift in U.S. policy regarding Gaza in decades, Trump called for the removal of the territory's entire civilian population and the development of what he called the Riviera of the Middle East. Convening his first cabinet meeting since returning to Israel over the weekend, Netanyahu said Trump had come up with a completely different vision, much better for the state of Israel. A revolutionary, creative vision, and we are discussing it, he was quoted as saying in an official readout of the meeting. He, Trump, is very determined to carry it out. It also opens up many possibilities for us. Trump's proposal, which would be a crime under international law, has been almost universally rejected, including by Arab states. The Saudi Foreign Ministry said on Saturday that it would not accept any infringement on the Palestinians' unalienable rights and any attempts at displacement, accusing Israel of ethnic cleansing Egypt has also rejected any idea of the removal of the Palestinian population and has said it is calling an emergency summit of the Arab League on 27 February to discuss what it called serious Palestinian developments.